entrepreneurship education didn't really exist there, but the importance of a university system supporting entrepreneurs was very, very deeply impressed upon me. The fact that the guy said, you know what, I'll help you, when everybody else wanted to kick me out, all I was trying to do was pay their bill. In fact, it turned out that Yale became my biggest customer during the years that I was there. And we used to sit and talk. I had a partner later, a kid that was going to the Yale computer science degree with me, that partnered with me, a guy named Rob Glazer. We both always joked about, you know, one day this technology stuff would be worth money. And years later, I don't know what happened there. Did that years later, Rob created a company you may have heard of called Real Networks, Real Player, Real Audio, a multi-billion-dollar company. And you know, I did Priceline was the 5th startup that I was involved in. So it's interesting that the university helping support our desire to help ourselves create value and create jobs in our environment and pay our way through an education. That's where it all started. And because the university said yes, that really lit my fire. I'm not sure what would have happened in my case if that didn't happen to me. I went out then into corporate America. It did not work. It hated me as much as I hated it, unfortunately. It was a nasty divorce. But I quit one day and decided I want to be an entrepreneur. And here's an interesting thing that happened. I had this, entrepreneurship gets this image of the Wild West, right? No rules, you're out of the corporation, you can do whatever you want all day, right? Somewhere there's this idea that entrepreneurs were by nature rebels, right? And it was the Wild West, kind of the wild frontier thing. I sort of thought that too, this should be cool. But I learned a really interesting lesson that I think we're all agreeing, or at least if I could ask you guys to do anything for people like me back then, this would be it. It's to impress upon entrepreneurs that in fact the key to success is anything but that. The key to success in entrepreneurship is learning all the science. There's art, without a doubt, but there is a science to launching a company that is hard-earned. It comes with blood, sweat, and tears, and you learn it from mentors and people that have done it before. And people have asked me later, we've had more than one venture that's been successful. Why is that? Well, there's no doubt that entrepreneurs are risk takers. But I think the reason we were successful is because we began to understand that entrepreneurship is about best practices. What are the things, what are the things we do? And it's about postmortems when you do something wrong. You better learn what you did so you don't do it again. But the important thing is this best practices concept. We started to learn how to finance a venture. We started to learn the things no one teaches you, like how to hire people. I'm 20-something years old. Most of my very first startup, most of my employees are in their 40s or 50s, right? I have no idea what to tell them when they come to me advice. Can someone tell me how to build a team, how to manage people? Those are really important skills that I completely underestimated. Let's just build this business. No, half my time was managing people and building teams. I didn't know the importance of that. Like I said, the part about financing, marketing and strategy, there were so many different opinions on, do you need a business plan, how do you write it, what should it have in it? It was a jungle out there, and I had to fight my way through it the hard way. And if I had had some form of formal education for entrepreneurship, somebody told me, Jeff, here are the potholes in the road you need to look out for, and here are the fast lanes that will accelerate your progress, I would have been able to get where I was trying to get a lot faster and with a lot less bloodshed. Now, I don't deny that that makes you stronger along the way, because I tripped in every pothole 3 times along the way. But believe me, I learned a lot, which is why I try now to participate. I speak at universities anywhere in the world, anytime I can, or any place that there's a seed of entrepreneurship, to tell people not to give up, to find their way through, but most importantly, to find sources of entrepreneurship education and to find mentors. And let me say that for me, if I did not have mentors along the way, I never would have been able to get anywhere that I could get. That's why I believe in this pledge of giving back, right? Because that circle has to be completed. There were people along the way that actually took time to mentor me. And there is no more valuable gift than somebody's time and expertise. And the first mentors were really hard to find, right? You're trying to find people that are, by definition, probably successful and probably really busy. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't want them as your mentor if they weren't good at what they did. And the last thing they need is one more person calling and asking them for something, especially when you can't really give them money or anything in return for it. The first mentor I found, I had to do it the hard way. I didn't have any way that I could think of to get to this person, but I knew he could tell me what I needed to know to launch this company. Some tips to help me get started and some things to look out for. So I did something that's could, I guess in theory, be shameful, but I don't feel shame, so I don't really think that. I did research on the guy that I would love to have be my mentor. There was no way to call to the front door to his office and get an appointment because I was nobody and nothing. This was a big, important guy. But I found out some personal interests of his and a particular charity event that he sponsored, and they had an event coming up, so I just went. I bought with my little bit of money at the time. I bought a ticket, I went to the event, I pretended to be wandering around enjoying the event, and I ran into the guy. I said, "Oh, you like this too? What a coincidence." And we talked about the event and the charity and his interest, and I had researched it a lot. And he said, "Wow, we have a lot of similar interests. What do you do?" I said, "Oh, I don't want to waste your time with that." And he said, "No, tell me what you do." I said, "I'm trying to launch a company." And he said, "Well, I've done that many times." I said, "Have you?" I've read every page of this man's life at this point. And I said, "Do you know anything about this?" He said, "Actually, I do." And we wound up having lunch. He wound up being a mentor for many years. My point is, yes, it is hard to find mentorship. What we need to do in this room is make it easier. We need to help connect mentors and mentees, because what I went through was a pain and risky and could have been embarrassing, but it was invaluable to have the mentorship. The other thing I got out of that was that education. I was able to have somebody that I could say, "When you built a company, how did you hire people? What did you do in this situation?" I had someone to bounce questions off of. Earlier in my career, I'll give you an idea. One day, when I was building my first startup ever, 20-something years old, a technology company in the travel and tourism space, and like I said, most of my employees were older than me, and they were all smarter than me. And people came up and started asking me questions about, because we were growing and hiring people, about employment and employee things. And they wanted to see the employee manual. Yeah, right. So I called everybody into the big war room one day, and I said, "Take out a sheet of paper, draw a line in the middle." And I said, "On the right, make a list of everything you ever hated about a job you had before. The way you were treated, the way people spoke to you, the way promotions and reviews were not handled, insensitivity issues. Just make a list of all the things you did not like wherever you were." I said, "On the left, make a list of all the things that made you love your job." Okay, and the things that were the best examples of ways you were treated in a company. We finished the exercise. I said, "Now take your pen and at the top of the page write employee policy manual." And that was pretty much it. I said, "Take a thumbtack, stick it on your cubicle. If I see you do anything on the right of this page, you're fired. And if I don't see you doing enough on the left of the page, you can expect a visit from me." How are you supposed to do that? Beats the heck out of me. That actually worked, believe it or not. We did things like, in trying to monitor employees, I realized as a leader, I have to lead people more than I have to lead the business. In fact, real quickly, when I sold that company to American Express at 20-something years old, and it was a big buyout, et cetera, I was on the news doing an interview. And they were reading all these business accomplishments. They were saying, "Well, your company did X million in revenues and profits, and you sold it for this." And she said, "Oh, these are great accomplishments. What are you most proud of?" And it was interesting because I said, "It's not on your sheet. It's not a number that I'm most proud of." And she said, "What is that?" And I said, "In all the years since I started the company to the day I sold it to American Express, not one person that worked for me ever quit." And I said, the day I woke up and realized that was the day I understood what I needed to do as an entrepreneurial leader. I needed to build an environment where the smartest, best people who could work anywhere they wanted to be here and didn't leave. Once I made that realization, I had wished somebody had taught me that long ago. If I had access to education where I could learn the skills that are not obvious to an entrepreneur, I eventually learned how to write the software that I needed. Priceline was a big, obviously, technology play. We knew exactly how to do what we needed to do. We understood how to market to consumers. Once again, amazingly, the hard part of that business was hypergrowth. It seemed like at Priceline we had 6 people, 12 people, 19 people, 800 people. I came in one day and I said, obviously I'm in the wrong building because I don't know who any of these people are. Managing things like hypergrowth. So I know I'm just about out of time here, but I want to impress on all of us that the mission that we have to undertake here is we have got to provide the mentorship and the tools for people like me that have a great idea and no idea what to do with it. So I am really happy to be here with you guys, and I thank you for giving me a few minutes to tell my story.